Congressman, welcome back to the program here.
Thanks, Jason. It's good to be with you.
Considering your extensive military experience, there's a lot going on with foreign policy. Let's talk about Greenland first here. President Trump continuing to push this, saying he wants to acquire Greenland. Anything less than total American control, he says, is unacceptable. Do you support that?
Let's talk about Greenland from 30,000 feet real quick. Greenland has always been an important part of our strategic outlook on the world, starting with the Greenland, Iceland, UK gap, the gap in between those three plots of land that are so important to where the Russians coming out of Murmansk have always made that very important. Additionally, it's a first line of defense for missiles that would be coming over from China and Russia. It is populated by 60,000 self-governing people. It is a territory of Denmark. Denmark has 6 million people. There's no way they can defend it. We do have bases there, and we have basically carte blanche to do whatever we want with bases there. The message here is not to NATO or Denmark. The message here, much as it was in Venezuela, much as it was with Iran, is to China and Russia, because this plot of land, the largest island in the world, populated by 60,000 people, who last year tried to negotiate with the Chinese. The message from Donald Trump and this administration is, do not mess with Greenland. It's part of our national defense. We will not look kindly on that.
So, do you support, though, a takeover or using U.S. military?
Remember, big words are a signal to somebody else. Always look into what else he's talking about here. Nobody's talking about taking it over. He's sending a signal to Russia and China, who are increasing their frequency of activity in the Arctic. With submarines, with icebreakers. Don't come anywhere near it, because keep in mind that the president and this administration has intelligence about the operations of what the Russians and Chinese, who are both desperate to have hegemony over the rest of the world, are willing to do to get Greenland its strategic location for operations, as well as its mineral extracts that they can get there. So it wouldn't be too difficult for them to go in and get some of that land and start working it. The message here is to everybody involved, this is part of the Western Hemisphere, don't go near there.
So you think this is just political muscle that the president's using as opposed to actually real talk about taking it over?
That's correct. This is a message to the rest of the world of how seriously we take any threats to Greenland.
Let's talk about what's happening in the Middle East right now. The U.S. has evacuated personnel from our air base there in Qatar, which I'm sure you've seen. President Trump considering military action in Iran, where a democratic uprising is happening. Do you support military action there to back that democratic uprising?
I think it's long since time that we've had the Ayatollahs take their place in the dustbin of history, and supporting the Iranian people for their own uprising here. To stop the killing, I've heard the number of 2,600 dead and 20,000 arrested as they shut down all internet and communications capabilities in Iran. They're executing thousands of people. Again, here's a signal, stop doing what you're doing or we take action.
And Trump will take action. I mean, is that something you would support, though?
As I did in the first launch on Iran, Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. And we have a unique opportunity here. I think Biden, and actually during the Obama years when the uprisings occurred throughout the Middle East for democratic uprisings, this is the will of the people in Iran. Remember, the Persian people, the Shia sect, most of the people in that country are not extremists. This is a dictatorship by the Ayatollahs, and this happens from time to time where they meet their logical conclusion when there's a dictatorship and the people take the power back. And I think we should be doing a lot to help them.
Let me go back to Greenland just for a moment here.
Okay.
I forgot to ask you this one. If Trump is just saber rattling China and Russia over Greenland, isn't he doing damage to NATO?
No. Saber rattling is a signal that we are back, that the Biden administration's weakness and failures, that's not what's going on here, as he showed in Venezuela, where we executed a flawless, the Armed Forces of the United States in 88 minutes executed a flawless operation with zero loss of life on our side to get a dictator who was harming Americans with his drug flow and narco-terrorism, that we know where he is. We're sending that signal to everybody, as the Israelis did by taking out Hezbollah in Tehran. This is a signal. Why don't you go ahead and take your billions and leave? and let us reestablish a working, functional government that is not a threat to the rest of the world.
Let me ask it like this then. If the president is sending a message to China and Russia, Europe is getting a completely different message. Our allies there and NATO there. I mean, Denmark has made plenty of public statements how they're concerned that the U.S. might launch a military strike.
Oh, Denmark's buying F-35s. We have great relationships with Denmark. I believe that they're in on this. This is part of the signal. They can't defend.
You believe they're in on this?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody in NATO is recognizing. My guess is here that intel is being shared from the United States to Denmark, that as Russia starts to falter on its economy is built on the military, they are stalled out in the Ukraine. China is starting to feel the aspects of the failures of a one-child policy. These dictatorships start to get desperate and do desperate things. So yes, absolutely. The relationships are not harmed, but this is a signal to everybody that NATO will defend our territory. The only one who can do that is not Denmark. That's a long way away from Denmark. They don't have the armed forces to do it. We're willing to help. So absolutely I do.
One more military question here too. The president says he wants the U.S. military to take out drug cartels in Mexico. It's a sovereign country. I know negotiations are apparently underway. The president down there, Claudia Sheinbaum, says we're not interested in the U.S. military in our country, and it's our largest trading partner.
She has to say that.
Well, what do you think is going to happen?
I don't know, and I don't know what has happened. There are probably aspects once you receive the designation of a cartel, your name is listed as a terrorist group. Yeah. The rules of war change, and Claudia Sheinbaum has to say one thing, and she might be letting another happen. I don't have any evidence to suggest this, but the fentanyl that kills 70,000 Americans every year, taking out the 18 to 49-year-olds, the number one killer, it's coming from Mexico.
Right. Via China.
The foundations are coming from China, right, put together by the cartels, and they're in it together. This is another signal to the rest of the world. We're defending our hemisphere again, and we're defending the American people every day.
Let's talk about Minneapolis. Masked agents pulling guns, scooping up dozens of people who are not the violent criminals. We saw what happened to Renee Good as well. They're arresting workers, they're arresting families. Do you support the tactics right now that ICE is using there?
Think about the tactics of the leftists who are putting their lives in jeopardy. The numbers of assaults on ICE
but
agents.
These are trained officers from ICE who are trained, still reacting like this,
and
instead of de-escalating.
And people are using vehicles as weapons to prohibit them from doing their jobs and threaten their lives. Those threats have gone up 8,000% as they are going after dangerous criminals who are from outside the country.
They're not all dangerous criminals, though, Congressman. You know that.
But that's not what we're talking about here. So we're kind of conflating the two things. Yeah. There's been massive amounts of fraud from illegal immigrants in Minnesota. We have now seen that that's happened. Mike Waltz and Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, or not Mike Waltz, Tim Waltz. Yeah. Sorry, Mike. Yeah. Tim Waltz, the governor of Minnesota, are taking the sides of illegal immigrants and criminals. They are upping the ante on talking about fighting law enforcement. They are inflaming a situation, and these protesters are trained. They're paid, and they're using vehicles as weapons.
Do you think ICE is inflaming this as well, not de-escalating this?
No, ICE is doing their job, and then they're being assaulted by people in cars and then claiming that we're innocent and not doing anything. They hit that officer. He had been hit once before.
The officer who shot Renee Good?
He had been hit before and dragged 100
meters. But the video
meters.
shows she didn't strike him with the vehicle.
The vehicle on his body cam shows otherwise.
Well, I'll take a look at that. He had the phone out in one hand and Drew in the other. And the body cam shows it was the strike?
And she came right at him. His body cam shows a strike.
I haven't seen that. I'll take a look at that. I do have another military question here too. Federal prosecutors investigating several Democratic lawmakers for the messages they said about telling the military not to follow illegal orders. Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona, the most high profile there. Do you think they committed a crime?
That's a good question. I, as a retired military officer, am still beholden to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Were I to foment an insurrection, I could be called back to active duty to answer for those crimes and court-martialed and imprisoned. The ability to say anything you want because you're an elected official is not sacrosanct. Those folks who were doing that video, it was organized. It wasn't somebody coming up to them and asking a question. It was organized, it was scripted, it was planned. And if you look at all of those folks, they are all looking at the next ridgeline, so to speak, for their political careers. Mark Kelly is the senior most of them. I can't answer for Mark Kelly or his intentions or what he was trying to do, but he's a retired Navy captain who should have known better. Nothing like this has ever happened, and certainly not in a planned way.
Does it rise to criminal charges, though?
So again, the Uniform Code of Military Justice holds us to a different standard than everybody else in the civilian world because we are uniformed officers. So the better question is, what would I expect to happen to me if I urged under the Biden administration, which never happened, officers not to follow an illegal order? I would expect that I would be investigated. I would expect that I would be called back to active duty because from my platform, I have more people talking to me, and it is a foment. That's why the rules are so conduct unbecoming an officer. You don't have that in the legal world. You have it in the military world because the American people and our civilian leadership expects better of us. So this isn't a criminal investigation per se, it's a UCMJ investigation, which are different. And I don't expect anybody to understand the UCMJ, but it's what keeps us and holds us to a higher standard as military answering to the civilian leadership. He should never have done that. At the very least, he's got to admit that, but he's getting a lot of fundraising from it. Yeah. He's getting a lot of attention to it, as are several others of those. And the brotherhood of veterans are not showing that we're not pleased with this. They should not have done that, and it's never happened before, Jason. So there is no precedence for this, and he should have known better.
Let's talk about the federal budget for a moment here. Funding for the federal government expires at the end of the month, but it looks like some progress is being made in D.C. The House passed with bipartisan votes, funding for a number of agencies. Can you guys stave off another government shutdown?
The bipartisan passage of the last two bills that we passed this week shows that. I'm glad you asked me an easy question that's not hard. And we have 4 left, and we're conducting regular order with bipartisan support. These funding bills, albeit late, but we're making progress. Remember, we got the budget 3 months late. The president's supposed to get that to us in February. We got it 3 months late, and Tom Cole and the subcommittee chairs have done a remarkable job of getting these done. We've got 4 left. I'm very optimistic about it. The largest one of which is defense. I'm on defense subcommittee, and we'll see that next week. So everybody lost in that shutdown, and everybody admits it now. They're just not going to say it.
Is that why it's moving bipartisan now, do you think?
Well, remember, you got to get 60, so we're making sure that they pass. We are executing cuts. Our policies are in it. We can't operate on a CR anymore. Those are Biden numbers and Biden policies. So, yes, I mean, there is now, and people should be proud of this, because for all the internal talk of how we are divided and things aren't going well and we are a nation that's ruptured, I would argue we are not, Jason. We worked great, and it doesn't get any clicks. The algorithm doesn't like it when things go well, but that went exceptionally well. So we've got some things that we got to work on in the 4 remaining bills, but those are relatively minor that we will get across, and then we'll get them to the Senate and then signed by the president. And the federal government will be funded once again. And I'm extremely optimistic, more than I ever have been, that we're going to get that job done.
Congressman, good to see you.
Good to see you, Jason.